Greetings, everyone. This is African Esquire TV. I'm your host, Tierney Cherie. So we're going to talk about the sad circumstance that is going on right now and across the world. A lot of people are mourning the death of Kobe Bryant. Of course, Kobe Bryant died on Sunday night inside of a horrific helicopter crash with his daughter and 7 other people. And of course, in the Black community, a lot of people are feeling down. A lot of people are feeling affected, even though obviously none of us knew this man. But I think it's something to say about someone that you kind of grew up watching or you've just become so familiar with over time, and you've seen them make so many accolades. You've seen them overcome so many barriers, yet this person is gone. I mean, it doesn't matter how you feel about sports, and I'll say for me, for example, I don't like sports. Like, I've just never been into the whole sports thing. I purposely do not watch sports where I feel like there's an exploitative relationship between the Black players and the white owners. So I purposely don't watch the NFL, and I purposely do not watch the NBA for that exact reason. But even so, even though I'm not into sports, I still have seen Kobe Bryant over my whole life. I've always known who he was. So it's kind of odd to see that he's gone. And it's very sad to see his family, what it has to deal with, not just him being gone, but obviously his daughter being gone, who didn't even have really a chance to live a full life. 13 years old, that's very young, obviously, to pass away. So a lot of people are feeling affected. But there's a whole nother community that is reacting in a whole nother way. And that is, of course, the Me Too community, a lot of white feminists and some Black feminists, a lot of people who feel the need to bring up the negatives anytime a Black person dies or something happens with a Black person. They feel the need to remind us of things that person has been accused of, regardless of if or if not it's true. Because we know inside of Kobe Bryant's case, his case didn't go to trial, right? So there was no legal basis to say that he did in fact rape someone or did not rape someone. And I would think that would be the standard, right? That if you're going to call me a killer, if you're going to call me a rapist, you have to prove it in a court of law. If you can't prove it, then I'm innocent until proven guilty. That's the standard, at least, that we're told we can live by. Of course, Black people, we are guilty until proven innocent. And even if we're proven innocent, the words rapist, the words murderer, the words whatever will always be on us as far as how white society will treat us and will continue to label us. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter if you go to jail and come out a different person. It doesn't matter. All that matters is that you were thought to have been in the act of something that they deem to be associated with your color. It's thought, as I stated before, it's assumed that Black men have a propensity to rape. This is an assumption that has existed since Europeans first encountered Black people and had to come up with a sexual philosophy of a reason to basically oppress them. And the reason was that they're hypersexual. They can't control themselves. So we Europeans, we have to go into Africa and civilize them. We have to bring them over to America and civilize them. And when they brought us to America, stole us and took us to America, there was always this perpetual fear of these hypersexual Africans. We have to protect our women. We have to do whatever we can. So even the allegation of rape, even the whistle of some, or not even the whistle, if you look inside of near a white woman, just looking at her, that is enough for them to prosecute you, hang you for something that you really didn't do. So this is a culture in America. And, I think it's very telling. I never see these things brought up whenever it is a white person who passes away, like a famous white person. I just don't see the same reactions whenever there's past conduct. Even a lot of these actors who are in Hollywood that aren't passed away, who are walking around but still not facing the same scrutiny that Black people face. And that to me is something that I want to talk about, because this is something that we have to understand is a power play. It's the power to label. It's the power to name. It's the power to determine your destiny. Because what they're going to try to do is forget all your accomplishments, forget all the good that you've done in the world, forget all the good that you've done for people. We're going to make your whole story what we want it to be. And if we have that power to determine who you are, if we have that power to determine your legacy, then we have the power, obviously, to undo any type of good that you've done and to permanently create this image in the minds of people that you were nothing, that you didn't do anything, that you didn't accomplish anything, and that we are ultimately the ones who get to judge you inside of these situations. So there was a journalist, and I'm going to read from an article. There was a journalist from the Washington Post who was actually suspended because she tweeted a link to a 2016 story about Kobe Bryant's rape case just hours after he died in a helicopter crash. It said that the lady, her name was Felicia Sonmez, who covers national politics. She took to Twitter shortly after the world learned of Bryant's death, along with 8 others aboard his private helicopter, which crashed outside of Los Angeles. She posted a link to a 2016 story from the news, which the headline read, "Kobe Bryant's disturbing rape case, the DNA evidence, the accuser's story, and the half confession." The tweet garnered hundreds of shares and thousands of likes, as well as many comments. So since, she posted that, she's basically been suspended, and she said she's been receiving threats and whatnot. Now, here's the question. How do you hear someone died, and the first thing that your first automatic reaction is, let me go ahead and try to paint this person the way that I want them to be painted. Because obviously when people die, the instant thing is that you grieve. You think about the person, you think about the good of the person, and you might discuss that on Twitter, you might discuss that on Facebook. But she said, let me get out in front of the people before they start talking about his legacy, and let me talk about something that has not been proven. Let me talk about something that is an allegation still, because again, I don't know whether or not it's true or false. No one really knows whether or not it's true or false, but it's an allegation. It was not proven. It was not taken into court. None of those things happened. There was no process. We need process, obviously, because Black people are more likely to be cast as guilty before we are given a chance to even speak on the cases. So we need process, right? But the fact that this woman decided right after finding out this man died, who knows if his family was even notified at that point, because now we know that his family apparently was not notified of his death before social media was notified. Who knows if his family even had a chance to actually think about or grieve. But this woman decides to go out and put this story out that's an old story to try to paint her narrative of how she wants you to view him. And again, this is all a power play. Why do you feel the need to do this? When was this done? When David Bowie died? I didn't see this personally. Like, whenever people die who have these checkered pasts who are white, why is it that we don't see the same angst? Why is it that the white community is more likely to exalt that person, more likely to take time and celebrate that person, and less likely to even talk about the bad at any point? Yet if a Black person is the one who is suffering, or a Black person receives some type of promotion, the first thing that people want to talk about is, here's what we think they did wrong. Here's what we want you to remember them for. It's not for the good they've done. It's always for the negative things that we want to paint on this person, even if we don't know if it's true or false. This is all power, again, a power play. It's a power play from a society that wants to take the narrative that they want you to have of a certain person. So what's the point of bringing this up? I mean, obviously the woman was suspended, so it doesn't even matter at this point. The point in bringing this up is that there's going to be another time when this happens. There's going to be another celebrity. Maybe it'll be a Kevin Hart situation where he's like almost about to host the Oscars, or maybe it's going to be a Kobe Bryant situation where someone unfortunately passed away. There's going to be more instances, because this has always happened, where you're going to see Black people who the conversation should be centered on one thing, on their accolades, but the conversation will always be centered on the things that white society wants to remember them for. For example, we're always going to remember OJ for allegedly killing his wife. We're always going to remember Michael Jackson for allegedly being a child molester. These are the things that they want us to remember them for, not the good things. And we have to understand that it doesn't absolve anyone who does do things does do things wrong. It doesn't absolve them of wrongdoing. But the idea that this society wants to impress on you and tell you what you should feel about your heroes. Meanwhile, you have people like Thomas Jefferson. You have people who were like Washington on a dollar, who owned slaves. They even said George Washington actually had his dentures were actually made from the teeth of slaves who they were taken out of them while they were alive and made to create his dentures. We won't talk about their heroes. We won't talk about the fact that Elvis was someone who committed rape also. They don't want you to talk about their heroes, but they certainly want you to talk about your heroes. And the thing for us to realize, if you have not realized it, it's not just them being concerned about rape. It's not just them being concerned about different allegations. The truth is, this is just a racist strategy in order to impress on Black people that you will never be more than what we say you are, that anyone who is successful inside of this world, we can ultimately determine whether or not they will be viewed as a success. We will determine the narrative of that person long after they're gone. It's all about power. And we have to understand it is racism. There's no reason why you should be bringing up a rape allegation. Allegation is the highlight, because again, it did not go into court. I don't know if it's true or false, but it is an allegation. Just hours after someone died. And posting that on the internet. And this was not just this one woman. Many people have been posting this on the internet because they want to paint a certain picture of this man, that the picture that favors their image of him, and not the picture of him being a father, him being a family man. They want you to just look at him and say rapist. The same way that you saw with Bill Cosby whenever there was those allegations that came out about him, many allegations. And what do you see on Time magazine? I think it said America's rapist instead of America's father. That's what they want. They want that instant. They want the instant reaction to be that this person is not a success. This person did not accomplish anything. Ultimately, this person is what we say they are. So let's not join inside of their efforts. I see a lot of people following suit and also posting similar things, not thinking about the fact that they don't have the same energy whenever it's people in their history or in their community. This is not absolve anyone of doing wrong if they did do wrong, but it's to say that let's keep in mind that whenever we're playing into these games, whenever we're going along and posting things and saying, yeah, this is what he did, we're not thinking about the fact that this is not just one person who is a random person. This is someone who is going to be talked about for all of history. This is someone who is going to be in the NFL, who is in the NFL Hall of Fame, who's going to be remembered for forever, really, as far as sports goes. And yet we're allowing them to paint a certain narrative of this person, but not paint narratives of their people. What that does is create a stigma towards Blackness in general, towards Africanness in general. And whether or not we know it, we are playing right into their plot, because whether they want to say we're not racist because we have Black people who are also co-signing these narratives, also co-signing the narrative of Blackness being equivalent to rape, co-signing the narrative of no matter what you've done in your life, if you have one allegation of something, then that is going to be the thing that we are going to remember you for. That's going to be the thing that overshadows your whole legacy, overshadows every accomplishment, overshadows every single charitable thing that you've done. This is the type of thing that they want to do. They want to make sure that anytime that they could put a label on you, anytime that they could put an allegation on you, that is the thing that determines who you are, and not what you've done, and not what you've done for your community. So as I said, these are just power plays, and we have to understand we're being played. For those of us who are joining in and also following suit, posting things about our brother that we don't know whether or not it's true, posting things about him despite the fact that his family is mourning, despite the fact that he has done so much good, we're only going to post the bad. That, to me, is us playing into a colonist mentality that seeks to paint Black people as being negative, seeks to paint Black people as being a misfit to white society, and ultimately it's our undoing. So I'm hoping that we start waking up and stop engaging with these types of dialogues, and instead start understanding that there's a time to mourn, there's a time to have those discussions. The time to have those discussions is not just hours after that person has died and we're trying to remember that person for what they've done in this world. So that's all I have on this subject. What do you guys think about all of these people who want to talk about the negative before the man's even buried, before this man even have a funeral, who wants to highlight something that was an allegation? And that's the thing I keep trying to emphasize. It's an allegation. It's different if, you know, you have a video of him doing something. It's just something that was an allegation and it was never proven. What is your thoughts on this being the way that America handles black people only, and not obviously white people who have done the same things? So that's all I have on this. I will see you guys in the next video.